Now, I was unfortunate that I couldn't get a code for the stress test a few weeks ago, but thankfully, thanks to my pre-order, I was able to play the pre-order beta of one of my favorite fighting game franchises of all time. Now, when it came to this beta, we only had 2 mode options: classic towers, where you fought every character of the 6 available, and of course a tower arcade-like setting with no ending, no story, nothing in terms of dialogue interactions, which is something that was definitely a negative when it comes to classic towers, if that's something that is associated with just the beta, or if we do not have that dialogue exchange like we do online when it comes to the full game release. But also there was casual play, which is the online availability. And one thing I will note, playing the game, having a ton of matches, is I noticed that it seemed like when it comes to casual play, you were matched up with people depending on how well you were doing in general. So if you were, say, having a good winning streak, you were paired up with people who also had a positive win-loss ratio. But as I noticed when I was testing out different characters and losing a lot, I started getting paired up with people with very low win-loss ratios or didn't have many fights in general. So I think from an online perspective, in terms of casual, it tries to adapt to the fact that you're either winning very well or losing very badly, to try to give you a chance to either break your streak or increase your streak against better competition. Now, one of the biggest additions when it comes to this game is the Cameo System. Instead of utilizing the variation system like we've seen in Mortal Kombat X and 11, which has been completely removed, now every character has their base special attacks and that's it. You do not have character variations like you did in the previous games. Instead, we have the Cameo System, where you pick essentially a tag team partner that plays as a cooldown special attack. Depending on the direction, how long you hold the cameo button, when they are able to be used, as indicated by the icon underneath the picture of your character that you're currently playing as. And depending on what direction, how long you hold the button to call in a cameo, you'll be able to pull off a variety of different maneuvers. In this beta, we had Frost, Kano, Sonya Blade, and Jax as the cameo options. And Sonya, for example, could grab people with her legs and do the big head spike. Jax could jump up and catch flying characters and do a backbreaker. Kano could shoot his laser beam, and what became one of the biggest things throughout the entire beta was the fact that Frost could freeze characters. So you have these options of calling in pretty much a tag team partner for a temporary usage, very similar to the test your luck special abilities that you would have in that mode in the previous games. The cooldown for cameos is actually very forgiving, but also very reasonable. If you utilize your cameos very quickly, usually you can use them 2 back to back very quickly if you want to. They do take a little while to charge back up, but it doesn't necessarily feel too long when you're in the heat of battle. One thing I noticed when utilizing cameos is that you have to have your feet planted on the ground when you do it. And that's one of the big things I've noticed about this game, is the fact that this is built on combo efficiency. I'm not great at combos, I will admit to that. But even the bread and butter combos, if you know how to pull them off correctly, do great damage and can set up some special attacks or even a fatal blow, which is one of the things that does return in this game. For those who don't remember, fatal blows are pretty much the desperation attack that you can use once per fight. If your health gets low enough, you're able to hit an opponent with a fatal blow that does massive damage. Unlike the previous fatal blows, the cameos actually get involved alongside the main character. But I noticed that the fatal blows are not as armored as they were in the previous game. So you're easily able to knock an opponent out of a fatal blow if you're timed properly. If you're able to block it, or say pull off a leg sweep, you can stop a fatal blow pretty easily now. One of the things that has been removed from Mortal Kombat 11 is the defensive and offensive bars that were in the corners of the screens for each character. Instead, now we have a 3-segmented, essentially EX or enhance bar that of course allows you to enhance your special attacks. And I noticed that certain special attacks actually have an armor effectiveness that works incredibly well. But one of the big things about the segmented bar, the enhanced bar, that is great for defensive measures if you properly time it, is the ability to pull off a combo breaker. But doing so, you expel all of your bar. You utilize every segment that you have. It takes all 3 segments to pull off a combo breaker. And even though your cameo does come in to do the breaker, it doesn't actually exhaust the cameo itself, so you do lose all your bars, but you do still have your cameo. We had 6 playable characters, and as I mentioned, the 4 cameos that you could attach to those characters. My personal favorite and one of my mains from the early days was Sub-Zero, and his ability to mix up so much in this game makes him a monster. He has Ice Clone, he has a diving ice kick, he has the ice slide that can be enhanced to actually get behind an opponent. He has so many different tools that you're able to kind of mix up, and not only mix up the opponent, but also mix up your variety of attacks without really spending that much meter, if at all. In the previous game, in the previous betas, I found Baraka. He became my main off of the beta. Sub-Zero is definitely going to be one of those characters I play a lot with when the full game does release. Unlike Sub-Zero, who got a lot more tools and feels more dangerous than ever, Liu Kang feels very similar to what he was in Mortal Kombat 11, just a little bit slower but a lot more powerful. I noticed that a lot of the startups, especially when it comes to his special attacks and even his kick string combos, are not as fast as they were in Mortal Kombat 11, but if they hit, they do a lot more damage to me. On the opposite end of the spectrum, Johnny Cage is still fast, and not only that, but his combos are ridiculous. The mix-up ability of Johnny Cage for just regular combo strings is absurd. He is a force. If you are able to get a good Johnny Cage player, if you're able to get good with Johnny Cage and pressure opponents against the corner, they're done. There's nothing you can do even with a combo breaker. Johnny doesn't have his green orb attacks, but he does have specific things to slide in to make it a lot easier getting close to people that try to keep him on the outside. Kitana and Kenshi have to be 2 of the more complicated characters in this entire beta, if not the entire game, depending on how they are when the full game releases. Kitana is really a trap-heavy character with a portal that she can call to essentially tornado an opponent and set up an air combo if you want to. She doesn't do as much damage as certain other characters, but she does have a lot of tools, and she's one of those characters that will definitely make it interesting fighting against her because she has a lot of different setups and maneuvers that you may not be used to, but she doesn't do as much damage as one would hope, even if she does land some good combo strings. Kenshi has 2 different stances. One that is his regular stance where he starts off and he has a lot of special attacks that are rooted in his telekinesis powers, but then there's the calling of his ancestor. Now, Kenshi's ability to call upon his spirit ancestor gives him an entirely different moveset. That to me was the most fun experience when it comes to playing with Kenshi. As fun as it was keeping characters on the outside and utilizing his spirits to chop them down or keep them away, his ability to turn into a sword master when his ancestor is there, alongside his ancestor pulling off strings and attacks against an opponent from behind, as long as Kenshi doesn't get hit, is fantastic. It really opens up a new world for Kenshi that I never would have expected, and I want to learn more how to play with Kenshi because he is a very interesting character, specifically when you call the ancestors. I want to play more with him. And the same goes with Li Mei. I was never a big fan of Li Mei in the 3D era. I didn't really play with her that much. This game, however, Li Mei was one of the standouts when it came to the beta. I enjoyed playing with her so much. She is, to me, similar to Jackie from Mortal Kombat 11 without the grappler heavy abilities. She is very fast, has a short range, but when she is able to get in, she can really do a lot of damage. But she also has some nice setups when it comes to air combos, when it comes to propelling. Like, I was surprised. Like Sub-Zero, she's one of those characters I feel I will be playing a lot with when the full game does release. Technically, the game was solid. I didn't have any hard crashes, but I did have some issues when it came to online stability at times, people dropping out, matches being disconnected, some laggy fights, some weird graphical issues where, especially in the tea house, where you pulled off, say, Liu Kang's big enhanced dragon kick with the backflip into the kick, the camera would pull out and you would see everything, but it would go beyond the scope of the actual gameplay, so you see like the black emptiness of what was behind the stage, which is really weird. But the biggest issues I had was the screen freezing. The game itself, to a certain extent, freezing when people would quit in the middle of a fatal blow during the final round. If you connected with a fatal blow against a rage quitter and they would quit while you're doing the fatal blow, it would pretty much freeze the game. and you would have to restart the game. And I hope that's something that is fixed before the full game is released. It's just associated with the beta, because it's a very, very annoying thing to be fighting someone, you have a win, you lose it, you not only lose the win, but you also have to restart the game. Overall, as a big fan of Mortal Kombat, I do have some issues with the game. I wonder how well the cameo system will expand with more cameos and more characters. I'm intrigued with certain aspects about the gameplay, but in general, I am thoroughly excited about the overall presentation, the overall aesthetics, and most importantly, in the overall overhaul of the combat system without losing too much of what I loved about Mortal Kombat 11. If you're a fan, to me, of Mortal Kombat X and Mortal Kombat 11, this is like the perfect blend of those two games right now. And I'm definitely looking forward to when the game does release. I think this has the makings of being not only one of the best Mortal Kombat games in the franchise, but I think it will be one of the best fighting games of the entire year, which is saying something considering how stacked 2023 is when it comes to fighting games.
Brutality. Sub-Zero wins.